Hello, welcome to Steve McDonald's Arts and Crafts, and today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you how I do a large pyramid, and this is the large pyramid mould that I've got. Now I want to make this quite an Egyptian themed pyramid. I'm going to be using my Egyptian moulds to make the tablets, and this mould that I made quite a while ago, which makes a sphinx. What I want to do before I start is I'm going to brush in some mica powder into these moulds and then cure them up. Now, I'm not going to do them full. I just want to do a little bit here and there because I want them to look as if they're a little bit old. I'm going to be using just these little micro brushes, and again I will link these in the description below, so don't worry. Along with everything else that I used today, I will also link in the description. And the great news is that I can now link for Australia, Canada, UK and America, and it's fairly easy. These brushes are cheap and they work really well. They're very soft and they're not going to do any damage to your mould. So I pop on the mica powder, as you've seen me do lots of times, and put the mica powder where I want it to go. And if you get too much mica powder in any area, you can just tap it out like that. And all I do is I take a baby wipe, I wrap it around the bottom of one of these sticks, and then I go over where I don't want that mica powder and just remove it. You get some great effects doing it like this. There we go, they're all done now, and as you can see I've left quite a lot of the blank bits, and that's because when I cast these I'm going to cast them with a sand and resin mix, the same as I'm going to cast this, and I'm not having any colour in this at all. I'm also going to cast a cone in here of gold, so the top of it has a gold triangle. And for the cone of the pyramid, I'm going to be using the ultimate casting resin because that allows me to cast a lot deeper than an art resin would allow me to cast. And for these, I'm going to also use the ultimate casting resin to save me having to mix up two completely separate batches. But if not, normally I would be quite happy to make these out of an art resin because they're not as deep as this will be if I show you. So I'm going to get this to come up to about here, and that's too deep for an art resin. What would happen is it would cure up really, really quickly. It would exotherm, which wouldn't do the mold any good, and also it would cause the resin to go yellow, which happens when it cures up too quickly, and possibly crack and move away from the mold. So it's always good to use the right resin for the right project. I have my resin mixed up now, ready to put this ultra fine gold glitter in, and I really like how this comes out as well. I think using ultra fine glitter has its place in resin. It's a bit coarser than mica powder, but it's very sparkly, and you know how I like sparkly stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm pouring it into the tip of this pyramid first, and then pushing it down using one of these little micro brushes to ensure that I've got no air trapped in the tip of this pyramid, because I don't want to have like a gap because there was an air bubble. And now I'm just filling this up. And what I'll do is I'll put that to one side and let any bubbles come up out of this. So using the same resin, I am adding my sand to ensure that I get a good coating of resin over this sand. And I use a lot of sand in this to ensure that I don't have a lot of resin kind of at the top. And I'm filling up the Sphinx mold and really pushing that down quite firmly, again to ensure, because it is sand, that I get a really good coverage and I've got no gaps or bits where the sand should be, but there isn't any sand and just resin. So making sure I compact that down quite well, and then filling it up to the top to ensure that it's got a nice flat bottom. Not that it mattered on this particularly, because it's going to be cast in the pyramid, and when you see what I'm going to do with it, you'll see that it will be sitting in sand anyway. So pushing it through into the toes here. Oh, look how messy I am. Honestly, I'm like a 2-year-old. I'd just like to say a quick thank you to all my members whose names are coming up now. Thank you for supporting my channel. And if you'd like to become a member and help support the channel and benefit from all the additional perks, at the moment we're running a series on how to set up your own business and sell your arts and crafts, then the link for that is in the description below. So using the sand now to fill up these little tablets, again making sure that I push it down firmly, that I've got sand in the whole thing so that I have no gaps and bubbles. And then what I'll do is I'll go over both of these with my lighter, get rid of any of the bubbles that have come to the surface, and then let them cure up. Well, these have all cured up now and they're nice and hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demold these, show you what they look like, and then I'm going to attach these to this without removing this from its mold, because I want it to be nice and firm and not have bits of resin running down the sides when I use the deep cast resin. And these should just come out quite easily. Yeah, and I'm really pleased with how they've come out. They're not over coloured, they've just got a hint of colour in them, and because of the sand, I think they look really quite natural. Well, sand is natural, I suppose. That's why. So let's look at the Sphinx. Oh yeah, and he's come out okay. I am going to trim him up slightly, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to put him in, because he will need to go in a particular way to ensure that he's up the right way, and also that he doesn't just sink to the bottom. The other thing is I need to make sure I get these up the right way as well, because I am likely to put them up the wrong way, because, well, you've seen my videos before. So I need that because the pyramid is going to be that way up. I need that to be facing down. And what I'm going to be doing is attaching those so they're almost at the edge of this pyramid here, like that. And then attaching those so they're virtually central. They're going round like that, but upside down. Nearly did that the wrong way. And all I'm going to use to attach that with is some UV resin. And I think UV resin is ideal for this. It dries nice and clear, and you're not going to see it once it's all in there. And the other thing is it only needs to give it a temporary hold, because once all the resin's cured, then you will be able to not worry about it. The other resin will keep it in its right place. But that will just stop these from floating up. And I use quite a powerful torch as well, because I have found that the cheaper torches do leave the UV resin sticky. I mean, it doesn't matter with something like this, because you're not going to get to see the UV resin, but I do use quite a powerful torch. So I will link that in the description below, don't worry. Let's make sure I've got those all up the right way. Yeah. So regarding this, I want this to be sitting here, like that. But I need this top bit here to be virtually level with this top, because I want to put a sand bottom onto this pyramid once it's all cured up. And that's easy to suspend that. All you need to do is take a decent sized popsicle stick, and you know I always have a lot of these about, some blue tack, and stick your blue tack onto your resin piece like this. And that will give quite a nice stick as well, so don't worry about that, that will stick on there nicely. Across there like that, so you've got that stick on there, and then all you need to do is just suspend that where you want it. So there we go, that's sitting there nicely like that, and then that won't move at all, and that won't slip off, and that will allow me to fill that up with the slow cure resin. I'm ready to pour in my deep cast resin now, and I do like to pour this in as slowly as possible and down the side as well, and that way it prevents you adding any additional bubbles and trapping those bubbles under something. Although deep cast resin, because it takes such a long time to cure, it will allow the bubbles to come out. Well, this is cured up now, and do you know, I hadn't even noticed until just now that I hadn't poured enough deep cast resin into this. I thought it was higher than it was, because I know I wanted to leave a little bit for the sand. I mean, it's typical for me to mess up a pyramid when there's a lot of resin in there. But I know that I wanted to leave a bit for the sand, but I've left too much because I hadn't realised. I'm just being dumb, I think. You're not going to see any of the Sphinx if I put that much sand in there, so I think that's too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and rescue this by pouring in some more resin on top of this. Hopefully I've caught this in time, because this is really only 48 hours. So this is a little bit jellified. It's not fully cast. So hopefully it's not going to leave too much of a line. I'm going to pour another centimetre of resin in this, let it cure up, and then I'm going to put the sand on. But it has come out, what is in there has come out lovely and clear, as it always does with the slow cure resin, because it has time to allow the bubbles to dissipate. So wish me luck, fingers crossed, and I will top it up. So again, just popping this into the pyramid up to the level I should have done it in the first place. The extra coat that I put in because I messed up has now cured. I think I can definitely see a little line going all the way around, but we'll have to live with that. Now, all I need to do the final bit is to gently remove this stick and then also remove the blue tack. So I'm mixing my sand up again exactly the same way as I did it for the tablets, and now it's ready to go into the bottom or the top of this mold at the moment. And what I will do is I will spread this out nicely and evenly. It's like being a bit of a plasterer. If you'd like to buy me a coffee just to say thank you for any of my videos and help support this channel and get your name on my coffee board, then the link for that is in the description below, and it's really appreciated. So now I've got my level there and I'm happy with how much the sand and resin I've got in there. I'm going to just cut off the bottom of this plastic cup because I want to have a clear space at the bottom of this pyramid, and you'll see why I want that a little bit later because it is quite important for the rest of this design. So once I've got enough sand out and I've cleaned that up a bit because I don't want any floaty bits of sand sticking around it because they're just going to look meh, I pop the glass into, or the plastic into here, and then fill it up with the sand. I will need to add a little bit more into this. Now, it isn't going to prevent coming out. You know, once this is cured, this little plastic cup will come out quite easily. But what it will do, it will act as a barrier or a wall to prevent the sand filling into that area. And I like this technique. It works really well on lots of different things as well. And I will use this technique on the next pyramid I do to show you another hint and trick with it. I now pop the bubbles and I'll let it cure up. But this is all ready now to take out of the mould, and I'm curious to see what it's going to look like after I made that stupid error. I just didn't notice that I hadn't put enough resin in it. But there we go, we all make stupid errors. If it hasn't come out well, then I will just quickly make another one. Well, not quickly, but I'll just make another one. So first thing I need to do, I'm going to take this cup out before I take this out of the mould, because I just find it's easier, and this cup should just come out really easy. It should just pull out, and you'll see why. I'm sure that you can guess why I put that in there in the first place, but you'll see why in a second. So next thing is to get this out of the mould, and this can sometimes be a little bit awkward, and if it is, all you need to do is pop a stick or something into the edges to release the vacuum that you've got in there, and that will help you pull the actual pyramid right out of this mould. And I just release that like that. That should have released it now. Yeah, that has. I heard it go, and then you can just turn it over and it will come out. This is the reveal. And I think that's come out really, really nicely. And the reason I put the hole in it is because when I have this mounted, I'm going to mount it on this light. And I will link these in the description, don't worry. And all you do, these are USB little light, should fit on there like that. And then your pyramid will light up. And as you can see, that is lovely and clear. That is the beauty of a deep cast slow cure resin. Let's turn the studio, or some of the studio lights off, that will help. Did have a little bit of overpour on this edge here, but I can just go over that with my deburring tool. Get that off, and that will come off really nice and easily. Don't forget, when you're using a deburring tool, you just take it off little bits at a time, rather than try and dig out the whole bit at a time, and then that'll come off lovely and make a really nice neat edge. And you pop that back on there. Once again, we have got a nice finished pyramid. Let me know what you think of this below in the comments. I'd be really interested to know what you think of it. I just think it's a different way of doing a pyramid than having just multicoloured layers. If you'd like to buy me a coffee just to say thank you and help towards any of the materials that I use in this video, then the link for that is in the description below, along with the links to everything that I've used today. Take care, enjoy your resin, bye.